There were a few questions. I want to just go over them. One was related to what we discussed, but let's go back to it again. And I have a simple code segment here. This is what I have. So in on line number 6, you can see that let me see here. Am I recording? Yes, I am recording and I'm sharing my screen, so you should be able to see them. So line 6 has an assignment, string initialization, and it says I have a string 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I want to actually initialize this constant string. With this one, I want to initialize a variable s1, which is a string. And the effect of this one is, in fact, is something like this. This is a array, one-dimensional array, like this one, a character array, right? So like this, and a 0 here. So this says that I have an array. C actually interprets it this way. Within this double quotation mark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 means I have a character array. First entry is 1, character 2, character 3, character 4, character 5, and a null character, which is 0, value 0, right? Or you can also think of this as a character like this. This is a null character. And this is how it knows the size of the array. And then internally it says, okay, S1 must be 2, 4, 6, length 6. And it will actually get a memory for length 6 array. And it will fill it with the binary equivalent of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters 5s and then 0. Now let's look at the other line, this line number 10. It's very simple. It's the same thing. This time I have A, B, C, D, and E. And this means that I have actually a character array of 6 entries. The first entry is A, the second entry is B, character B, and so forth till I have the null character. Now I have a length 6 array, and I am trying to initialize a length 5 array with this one. What would happen? If you recall, there are several ways of handling this. It depends on the compiler. And C, the one compiler that I'm using, what it does is it says, okay, I will actually I will make sure that this is the right number here. This is what you intended. 5 is actually what you wanted me to, the compiler is going to say 5 is what you asked me to actually provide you with, the 5 entries. Then I will take this guy and take the first 5 entry. The first 5 entry is A, B, C, D, and E. Now, S2, variable S2, even though I think it is a string, or I thought it was a string, but since I am able to only store the first 5 entries, the 6th entry is actually gone. It is omitted, which is the end of string. So S2 in itself has no longer an end of string sign or end of string value available. So if I actually send this to the printf, for example, printf is gonna start from the beginning, which is A for S2, and then character B, it will print character B, it will print character C, it will print character D, it will print character E, and it will print, oh, it is end of the, there are 5 entries in this array, but I haven't reached the end of the string, which is a null character. So it is still searching for something, and depending on how the memory is organized, it will continue with the next one, and the next one. So here, the memory is usually organized in a stack fashion. In this case, what happens is that S1 is going to be actually be put on top of the stack, and then on top of that, S2 is going to be placed. Now, if you look at how that thing is, how that particular stack is actually implemented, we can see it here. Let's actually do this one. So the stack is going to be, the memory is going to be something like this. Let's say like this. So it's going to first put S1. This is S1. S1 has 5 entries. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 entries. And then it will put S2. S2 is going to be having also 1, 2, S1 has 6 entries. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a null character, right? And S2 will have on top of, exactly on top of this one, S2 will have 5 entries, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 entries. So this is, sorry, this is more than, so this place is S1, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is S2. This place S2, and it has A, B, C, D, and E. See that I don't have the 0 character or the null character. Therefore, when I try to print S2, I will start from A, and then B, and then C, and then D, and then E. Still, it is looking for something more. The memory is, I don't know where the memory is ending. There is no way for C to know what the size of S2 is because I haven't indicated it here. You can see that there is no indication as to what the size of S2 is. Even though I know it from here, it is 5. In this particular case, I do not have that. Therefore, it will continue reading the memory. It will read 1. It will read 2, meaning print 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5. And then now here, there is a null character. And it's going to stop there. So if we run this code, you will see that this is, I need to actually turn this off first. This is something wrong. And I'll come back to this one in a few minutes. So if I actually run this code, you see here is that on the left-hand side here, you see for the second one, what it printed is A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why? Because S2 ran out of space and still didn't find that null character, and it continued. And in this particular case, we were lucky that it actually found it in S1 because S1 had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a empty or null character. So if we had another variable defined here, for example, let's say an integer I, which is 100. Now what happens is that in this memory here, what we'll have here is we are going to have another variable getting into place. So here in the stack between S1 and S2, so let's put this way, between S1 and S2 here, there will be this X. And X is an integer, which is 4 bytes. There will be a 4-byte space in there. Let's see what happens when I actually do this one. What will happen is that now you have A, B, C, D, E in the memory, and then followed by whatever the representation, byte representation for 100 is, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as characters. So it may find some, it may interpret this 100, one of those bytes for the 100, to be null character, and it may stop there, or it may actually continue till printing some garbage afterwards as well. So let's see what is happening here. And did I do it right? It should actually cause a trouble. No, it apparently put them in the same place, but there is no guarantee that. Perhaps let's actually put this in as a one, let's say 100 entry here, and let's see what is happening here. So you see that now I got lucky that since the initialization perhaps actually gave me a 0 value for one of those bytes, and this guy actually stopped there. Now you can see that one mistake that I had here, this mistake, not able to know the size of the string and not able to match it here, I have two different behaviors of my code. Here, my code run right, but when I don't have this line, my code actually doesn't run right anymore. So this is because I actually violated the expectation or the agreement that we had for C. C said, please make sure that your variable, string variable, the array, has at least one null character in it. If you don't have that null character, it will actually try to find it in the continuing memory space, which may or may not end up in a let's say it may run correctly, or it may not run correctly at all, or it may actually even give you a let's say segmentation fault at some point. All right. So this is very important. So there was a question of that sort, and another question was what to do with. So someone was asking. Let me go back to that one. Let me see. Someone was asking about a question. Can we access the things with this one? This is gonna be exactly, I mean, printing individual entries of the string. Whatever the character is gonna print, it will print, right? If it is 0, null character, it will be null character, whatever it is, right? So here you are not actually looking for the end of line or not end of line, but end of string using that specific character. You're just actually, you know how long your string is or your array is, and you are building on that, and you are using that knowledge to go through your entries. All right. And the question was, in this example, would this work if I have just a simple, let's say, if I just change this part here and make it 6? The answer is yes. Or I may actually just forget about it at all. I just leave it empty and let the C compiler, let the compiler decide what that size should be. Compiler is gonna easily calculate it. It's gonna say ABCD has 5 characters in it, and I'm gonna add one more character indicating the end of the string. There will be 6 of them, and I will put just 6 there by myself, right? Meaning the compiler. So if you let the compiler do it, but sometimes you would do this by yourself. You will actually define the size to be, let's say, a certain entry, number of entries. And that's probably a requirement that you might have for your coding, for your algorithm, but you just need to be careful these type of errors, that if you actually let's say underrepresent in terms of number of entries in your array, you are gonna lose that vital information where that information indicates how your string ends. And you have to have that in that in that variable. Otherwise, it will be causing troubles, as you can see. So what can we do with strings if now this is what C is actually telling us to do? So C is telling us, okay, here what I wanna do with strings, I'm gonna treat them as character arrays, but special character arrays that should have some null character in it. And then C says, okay, let's actually see what, or C says, I'm gonna give you some ways to make do this thing. And the first, or handle these type of strings. The first one was the constant string in an assignment. The second question is, can we do something like this, for example, here? Can we assign after assignment, after the, or can we use the assignment statement like this one here? I defined my character to be 20 long, character array, or the string to be 20 long, just one up there. And then I am assigning a constant string to this variable. The answer for C is no, you cannot do it. C says this cannot be done at runtime. The only way that I can do this is actually this is on the at compile time, and you actually do it here. You say test value here. Okay, this is C's approach to this one. You cannot use the assignment operator to assign anything to your string variable. Okay, but C says, okay, yeah, I'm gonna punish you, or I'm not gonna let you do this one. It's not a punishment. It's just for C's convenience, because you are gonna see that actually later on. This is, if I allow this one, this will cause a lot of trouble later on in the semantic of some other things, right? So instead of this, I'm gonna say, okay, now let me actually give you some functions that will help you do these type of things. So usually those functions should actually allow you to some copying. So I want to be able to do this one as some part of the code, or I may want to actually have, let's say, I might have a character array S1 and another character array S2, let's say 10 and 10, and I may want to actually copy S2's entries into S1 and so forth, right? So some sort of assignment or copying, some substring functions, some concatenations, adding two strings together, concatenating them. Adding doesn't mean addition as arithmetic addition, but concatenation. Perhaps comparison, I can compare strings. And very important, I may want to actually have a function that let me know the length of a string. Given a string, I can find the length. Let's actually do that. Let's actually write a function before we go to the C library of functions. Can we write a function that actually finds the length of a string? Let's think about it. So here I have I want to write a code here, and let's go back to fixing this one. So let's do this 5. So I'm gonna is of length D, and I'm gonna length string L length. Str, this is my function. And I'm gonna send S1 to this one, and I wanna actually print it out. All right. So this is the function that I want to write. So it's gonna return an integer, and it's gonna take a string. Let's do it this way. It's gonna take a string array, and it's gonna return an integer. All right. So initially, how should I do it? Now, I know that if this is a true string, this S, the given S string is actually, the array is a true string, there has to be a, what? There has to be a null character in it. And the null character, place of the null character in the array is gonna indicate how many readable entries I have, how many characters in my string has. For example, if you send me this guy here, I know that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters, and then after this, there will be a null character. Therefore, if I find the null character, And that is actually the number that I want to actually get. This is the answer that I want to get as the length of the string. So I will have, let's say, define an integer L. This is the length. And I'm going to say, okay, for L, so I'm going to do it this way. While, since I don't know where I am going to end, I'm going to say while I have S, I, SL, and I'm going to start L from 0, assuming that the length of the string is 0. And if this guy, while it is not the end indicator, which is the null character, then I am just going to say this. I'm just going to increment L and then return L as my answer. So it says, start with the 0th index, check if the 0th index is indeed the null character. If it is so, just stop the while loop and return that 0. Or if it is not the case, then increment L by 1 and then check again if that now the new index has the null character. If so, terminate the loop and return that L value. So very, very simple one. You can see that with one simple loop till I find the null character and I just return the null character. And this will actually will let me find the you can see here, of course, this is the second one is wrong. So forget about the second one. And the first one is here. You can see that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is of length 5, it says. So I have 5 entries. If I had, let's say, 6, 7, 8 entries, it will print 8 here. It has 8 entries. How did I do that? I looked at, I went through my entire array. I don't know how long it is, and I am assuming that it has at least one. It is as long as where I have, it is as long as it is necessary, but within that length, it has certainly one null character, and I can find that null character. Do we have any questions on this one? Where is my thingy here? All right. Now, good. So there is a question. Someone, Enis is asking, what if I actually send this S2 to my length function? It's no different than the other one, right? Here, if you recall, this printf is also doing the same thing. It is printing each character till it is reaching an end of string indicator, which is the null character. And if you recall, in this case, when I actually did it, it actually couldn't find anything in E after this one. And then it actually searched the memory, continuing memory, wherever it is. And by luck, it is after this was S1. And it actually found the end of character at S1, which is after 8. So if I actually call the length string function on S2, I will get 8 plus 5, which will be 13. Let's do that. If you want to do it, we can do it here. Let's do that. And we can say here, this is S2 and S2. Now, I am doing the same thing for S2. I am printing S2 and I am printing the length of it. Let's say this way. And you'll see that the first one is 8, the second one is 13. It's the same thing. It will go till it finds that special character, that is that null character. If your array doesn't have it, by mistake, we made it not to have it here. This was a mistake. This is a big mistake. If I make it this 6, for example, it's going to be fixed easily. I know that. But before that, if I have this 5 here or 4, then I have a problem. Then what it will do is it will go someone else's memory, and it will actually explore as for a 0 somewhere else. Would that be meaningful somewhere else? I have no idea. It could be sometimes meaningful. It may not be sometimes meaningful, but for sure, it is not going to be ending at A, B, C, D, E, E, meaning in that last character. All right. Any other questions? All right. If there is a library to find the length of a string, okay, then there has to be the array since for arrays. Okay, good question. Someone is asking, Eren is asking, hey, if you can find the length of a string, you can find the length of an integer array. How come? We haven't had any understanding of what that special character, special value for an array, integer array is, right? If let's say, if I have this one, let's say an integer array here, integer A, let's say I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? And I am gonna call, let's say, very similar function like this guy. Let's say I try to write this one. I wanna find the length integer array, let's say, int array. I'm gonna do this one, and this is integer. Now, this is good, okay. Now here, let's change this one just to make sure that. So what am I gonna compare A with? I know that a string ends with a null character. What does an integer array end with? I'm asking you, Eren, what does it end with? So your question is a very, very good one. And my question is also good. So we have all good questions. So what do you think? How do we think we should actually end this thing? Is it 5? Is it 6? Who knows what that thing is? So there is no common understanding anywhere between anybody. So you have to make your mind up, right? So you can say, oh, let's actually make this to be 0. But what if you want to really have a 0 value there? Then you cannot actually have this. So this sentinel ending of an array is not semantically a good idea. But for a string it is, because null character is not a readable character anyway. So why do I care? If I am typing something using my keyboard, I will not have null characters typed. Then I am safe. I can actually assume this. Of course, my string will never have a null array, null character anywhere, because it will be interpreted always as an end of string. So this idea can only be done for strings in this case, because of this universal understanding, or someone's, maybe not universally, perhaps in the C community, it is universally understood this way. Maybe the C designers actually decided on that, and that's it. That's the end of the story. And then we are following it by now. For an array, this is not the case. But someone can actually just go and say, okay, I want to have a sentinel control on a string, or not on a string, on an integer array, for example. Let's say you can say, I'm never using -9999999 as a value, right? So I may say, okay, this is perhaps, let's say, -9999. This could be one way. Okay, if this is really the case for your example, then this is done. In that case, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put, of course, this one here. I have to do this one. I have to say, okay, this is the end of the character, end of the array, not the character array, integer array, and I'm checking this here. And now you have to make sure that always your arrays ends up with at least this guy. Maybe you might have something like this. Let's say 6, 7, 8, 4, whatever, right? Something like this. This will indicate that this array is ending here. So the array has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, nothing else. But this is not universally acceptable. This is only in your application. Eren, who was it? Eren. Eren might have something in his code like this, as long as he actually adheres to this semantic. But this is not a universal thing. In my application, for example, minus 9,999 could be an important number that I may want to have it there as a number in my array. All right, good. Any other questions? If not, then we'll continue. Let's look at these functions that we have. We have string copy. What it does is actually it copies the second operand into the first operand. It actually takes the individual array entries in the second operand and copies it to the first operand. Very simple, one at a time. How does it know where it ends? Again, let's try to write that function here. Very simple. We can write now, let's say, this is not good, right? Good. So let's make sure that someone knows that we didn't endorse this thing. So let's say that we want to write this copy function. We can write this copy function. It doesn't need to return anything, maybe, I don't know. Copy str. I am copying string 1 to string 2 to string 1. So this is the target. Sorry, this is source, and this is the target. Now, if you recall from our const definition, I want to put a const in front of the second operand. Why? Why do I want to put that there? If I am copying, copy s to st. This is what I want to do. And I put a const in front of the definition of the second operand. Why? Can someone tell me? Please, someone. Yes, exactly. Mohammed Safa says you don't want it to change. So this is an indicator saying that I can send a const thing to this guy. Now we are gonna see that, for example, this could be the call of this one could be something like this. Now I can say copy str. My source is s2 and my ABC, for example, I can do this one now. Now, this is a const thing. This is another place where const actually helps me. This says, I'm going to actually create a constant array, and I'm just going to push this to you. You are not going to write into it. You are just going to read from it. If you write it to it, this is this is not a defined array. This is a const thing. You cannot change this one. So therefore, it has to have that const there. Okay. Now, what did we say? We are gonna just actually start from let's say we'll say, okay, as long as so we can do it this way. As long as I haven't reached the end of character or end of string SS, I will copy SSL into SSL. We'll copy SS index with L to ST, and I will just increment my counter. Now, this is what actually a copy string will do, right? It will copy everything. Of course, there is one slight thing here that it will copy, but it will not copy the last entry, which is the end of, which is a null character. Then I have to do for that last entry something like this again. So this will copy everything, including the end of string character, which is this null character. This is how I know the end of SS, the source string. And I can assume that target string has the same number of entries available, at least, maybe more, I don't care, but at least same number of entries available to me. So another copy of this is, or another form of this function is strn copy. What it actually has is it has a third argument saying that instead of copying the entire thing from source to the destination, source to target, I will only copy the first entry, n entries of the source to the target. So in this case, this function will copy n string. This will have a third entry here, and it will only actually do it this way. This time it's gonna go, let's actually be a little bit creative here. So this will be another function, and in this another function, I am gonna have an integer here, n, and I will have, let's say, I don't need to do it this one anymore, for L from 0 to L less than n, L plus plus, right? And then I will copy it like this, right? And then for the last L, I'm gonna copy the nth entry being the null character. So there is another one. It is called cat. So what this is for concatenation. So it actually takes two strings, a source string and a destination string, and it actually appends the source string at the end of the destination string, assuming that destination string has enough space to receive the source on top of it. How do we know the end of the destination string? We just go till we hit the null character. And then on top of that null character, we continue copying the source string till we end the source string. Let's write this one, and I'm not gonna write the rest of it afterwards. Let's write this concatenation function, or at least a form of the concatenation function. So we have the target or destination, and we have the source, right? And what I want to do is, first of all, I don't want to actually start copying the source to the destination right away. I want to copy, into the destination starting from the last entry and on. So one thing that I need to know is my index for the destination should be my strlen, the length of the str of D. So the destination's length is now available to me. Then what I will do is I will copy everything from source. Then I will have integer is, this is the source, that starts from 0. So I will have a while loop checking if SSIS has reached to the end. So yes, as long as it didn't reach the end, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna copy it from IS, the IS index of the source, to ID index of the destination, and then I will increment both of them by 1. And then at the very end, ID would receive the IS. this would actually now concatenate. Now, this is not copy string, of course. This is concat. Concatenate the whatever is included in S on top of D. So if S, for example, has, for example, let's say that when we call this one, so here, if we actually call this concatenation, concat, where is my concat here? Concat is, I am concatenating, let's say S1 on top of S1, S2, and I am giving this out. If I do this one, you will see that I have errors, of course. I don't know what I have done, but anyway, you can understand it. So what you should have done is it should print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then right after that A, B, C, D, E. So it will actually have a long string which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 characters, and then A, B, C, D, E characters. Okay. So what else do I have in this list? I have the strncat. It says instead of actually concatenating everything from the source, only concatenate a certain number of characters from the source, a given number of characters. Okay, these are the copying and concatenating. And there is another function, it's called comparison. You can compare two strings. When we mean by comparison of a two string, there are two possibilities. First of all, two strings could be equal. This is one possibility. And there is a definition of a string being larger than the other one, greater than the other one. And this is something to do with dictionary order of the words. If you take the string as a word, how would you actually order them in a dictionary? What you would do is you would take the first character. If the first string is have a lower number character in your, let's say, in your alphabetical order, then you will have that character, that string, the first string will be smaller than the second string or less than the second string. And if there is a tie for the first characters, then you look for the second characters and so forth. So this is the alphabetized list, and it actually look for the alphabetical ordering of words or strings, like similar to a dictionary. And it will return 0 if the both strings are equal. It will return negative if S1 should be before S2, preceding S2. It will return positive if S2 should precede S1, should come after, S1 should come after S2. All right, so this is good. This could give us some possibility of, let's say, building dictionaries and so forth. Yeah, this is going to be very useful. And then you can do the same thing with strncmp. This time you would actually compare only a given number of characters in that string. So for example, you can say, I want to compare only the first 5 characters, or first 2 characters, or first 1 character, whatever, right? strlen, we discussed this one already. And str2k, this is actually a function that breaks parameter string source into tokens by finding groups of characters. We are going to talk about this further later on, but this is like a splitting thing, and it will actually split the character, split the string into multiple pieces given a certain delimiter. For example, if you may say you want to actually split things by the comma that you have in your string or something like that. All right. We discuss all these things, and I think we have like about 3 minutes left. I'm gonna take some questions if you have any. Let me see. So copy and str de IO ulaşmadıysa 29 satır yanlış olmaz mı? Okay. Let me see. 29th. Copy strn. It says, what do you say here? In L, yeah. If there is no, so if your string SS is not a valid string, meaning it doesn't have a null character, then I have a problem. So any of these functions assumes that the user, the caller of that function, sends them a valid string. If the string is not valid, then you are in trouble. The function doesn't check that. The function has no way of checking that. And string says, if you are using strings, you know what you are doing. You are giving me a string. That's it. If you are trying to fool me, you are going to fool yourself. This is the world of actually programming, right? So if we have an agreement between two of us, we said this is a string and string must have a valid number of entries in it, and there has to be at least one of those entries which is null character. If not, then you are violating the agreement and will be having all sorts of trouble. Okay, and there is no control against this trouble. In some other languages, this is actually the trust that C actually gives to you is actually handled in other ways. You can see that many of these functions are written very, very simply. I wrote them in like 2 lines of incredible. And because of the simplicity of assumption for strings in C. And this leads to very simple functions. Simple functions usually means very fast, efficient code, right? If you want to actually check the entries of your string to be valid and this and that, then you would need to do more than what I am doing here, which will count as a inefficiency towards your language. And for example, Python or some versions of, let's say, high-level languages like, let's say, Java, might actually endorse these type of things. So it may look for these type of errors, or it may try to eliminate these type of assumption-related errors. When you violate the assumption, you are done. And your language may say, okay, no, I don't want to do this. But any of those type of things will cause you to do more than okay. 29. satırı. Neye taktınız bu 29. satırı? Anlamadım ki. Okay, what is this? No. I have a problem here. You're right. This is I misread your thing. Yes, you are right. This is 0. You are right. That was a wrong thing. Sorry about that. All right. Okay. Okay. So everyone caught that one. And are there any other questions? So at least a few people are not sleeping. That's good. So guys, thanks a lot for your attention. I hope this is useful. Again, remember that on Friday there will be today or tomorrow there will be an announcement. We are planning to have an PS session, problem solving session by the TAs Friday morning. Watch for those announcements in a few, like today or maybe tomorrow, and try to attend that. It will be useful for you. If you have a question, share them with us next time on the chat, or just send me an email. Otherwise, I am stopping the recording now and